Hi everyone, it's John. It's been a while since I've posted a video, and it has been even longer since I've posted a book review of a classic. And that's exactly what I want to do today. I read this book about 6 months ago, and still find myself every once in a while with it on my mind. It was, I can't say a favorite, but certainly it just keeps popping up in my life in the weirdest of ways. I think about it sometimes, and it's it's like that weird little sort of talismanic thing you can never really get out of your head. It's bizarre. Um, the book is Sons and Lovers by D.H. Lawrence. Would love to know how many D.H. Lawrence fans are watching this video, and more specifically, how many Sons and Lovers readers out there are watching this. Especially interested in comments down below for what anyone happens to think about what I say about the novel. If I'm completely misreading this thing, it's quite a book. I do want to say that a lot of what I'll be talking about in the review are basically just summary points to illustrate how bizarre the book is and some of its characters are. So I'm not going to give too much of an analysis, character analysis, or symbolism or anything like that. I'm just going to talk about what goes on and some of my general impressions of it. This was my first foray into Lawrence, a writer that I largely put off because of his supposedly deep and endless obsession with sex and sexuality, which I'm no prude, but can certainly get tiresome in books that are 500, 600, 700 pages long. And to be quite frankly, it's a couple of subjects that can really get into cringe territory really fast if not done well. I thought I might forego this a bit by choosing one of his very early novels, where surely, right, this wouldn't be as much of an issue. So I decided on Sons and Lovers, which was published in 1913, when, by the way, Lawrence was just 28 years old. And it wasn't his first novel. I think it's his second or third, if I'm not mistaken. Sexuality might not be at the front and center of this novel, but it's already very much seething underneath everything else in a way that's maybe a bit creepier than I was anticipating. Sons and Lovers begins with the story of Gertrude and her husband Walter, and their name is Morel, Morel, and Walter is a coal miner, by the way. The Morels, which I took their last name to be, it's spelled exactly like the mushroom, so I took it as a hint of sort of, these are very sort of salt of the earth people, of the earth, coal miners, that sort of thing. Gertrude suffers from frequent and sometimes even physical abuse at the hands of her husband, who often disappears after work, drinks half of his paycheck, and comes home and yells at her, is relentlessly cruel, like I said, abusive. And over a period of a couple of hundred pages, the first few hundred pages of the book, we see this loveless and affectionless marriage and how it causes her to draw closer to her children for comfort and support. I'm guessing what put a distinct distaste in the mouth of readers a century ago is that it was a very controversial novel when it came out. As Gertrude sublimates the love for her husband, that love isn't transferred to her children in any normal normal kind of way. She becomes really emotionally obsessed with their private and personal lives, especially with her son Paul. This is especially true when she becomes jealous of Paul as he as he grows out of late childhood and enters early adulthood. He, of course, becomes interested in girls, and she expresses jealousy of these girls. Like I said, I might be getting a bit in my head of myself. I don't want to do that, but Paul, like I said, who's two major romantic interests, Gertrude very much perceives herself to be in competition with both of them. Gertrude's elder son is named William, and he is unable to enjoy much of anything. He's sort of an interesting figure. But later, Paul, the younger son, he has mixed feelings towards his mother, but he's never able to separate her from his romantic life with either one of his younger love interests. And the reader feels, at least I felt, a faint sense of empathy for Gertrude, of course. But this quickly kind of turns into, it did for me, that she is emotionally smothering her children in ways that are reminiscent of how Mrs. Bates might have treated Norman while she was still alive. In the end, true to modernist form, of course, Paul is left alone by himself without his mother, and having failed in both of his relationships. And we're very much left with the impression that Gertrude will continue exerting her overbearing influence far from beyond the grave. Like I said, you kind of get this impression that Gertrude is trying her very, very best to show her good intentions, to show her love and affection and loyalty for her children, which she could never show towards her husband. But she doesn't know how to do it. She tries, but she's never had any healthy relationships modeled for her. As certainly not her own marriage, right? So whenever she tries, it turns into a tragedy. It's only through jealousy or anger or hatred or passive aggressiveness that she can try to show that she cares. And I just read her as this, she's more tragic than anything in Greek drama. She's a very, very, very sad figure, but doesn't realize how sad she is. Very, very, very interestingly drawn characters in this novel. Fascinating stuff to think about. Of course, needless to say, this is one of the first novels that I know of that treats the themes that you find in Freud, especially Freud's theory of sexuality, very seriously. Gives them a very serious fictional treatment. In fact, Freud was still very much alive when this book was published. The cumulative effect of reading Sons and Lovers is the slow discovery that the Morel family is a perfect storm of relationships that is exactly suited to mutually undermine and destroy one another. And that's especially superficially obvious with Walter and Gertrude, who slowly wear one another down from the very beginning. But it takes a while to see that her relationships with her sons, both of them, are just sort of variations on a theme. The creepy Freudian parts Again, the whole book is sort of a fictional account of what Freud might have thought of a family or something very close to it. So not all of it is creepy, but where but the parts where Gertrude tries to sabotage the relationships of her son were really enough to make me interested in the kind of characters that Lawrence might have built in other novels, and what else he has to offer as far as character building. If, like I said at the top of the review, if there are any other people who love Lawrence, I know he's very much a love or hate thing, and if this book is any indication, I might be leaning a little bit more towards love, but for very, very weird reasons. So if you like Lawrence, or if you have any biographical information about him, or have read more about him or of him than I have, let me know in the comments. Please direct me towards other books, novels, biographies, if you've read a good one. And I will see everyone next week, maybe. Bye.